Another thing to bring is Ijebu Gari because we cannot do without Ijebu Gari. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new on here, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Gigi or Stella, whichever you like. And if you're a returning subscriber, as always, you know I love you. Thank you so much for sticking around with your girl. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the things that you should bring to Poland or Warsaw, as the case may be, and things you should absolutely avoid. I packed so much. I had been, I'd been researching so much about what to come to Poland with, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason why you're also probably watching this video now. I was checking so many videos and then I stumbled on this video, one of my favorite content creators, by the way. I will be hi girl, if you ever see this video, this is a special shout out to you. Thank you so much for all you do. I really learned a lot by watching your channel. And in that video, she mentioned things about bringing books. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know I went to pack all the books I have? I had so many books that I had bought during NYSC, and then I went to pack so many of them because I wanted to just bring so many of my books with me. A lot of my friends still tease me today because of those books. But in the long run, actually, it did pay off. It's just that I had excess luggage. Without further ado, let's get right into the video for today. In a separate video, I'm going to take you guys with me to where we do grocery shopping, just so that you can see what we buy here in Warsaw and where to get them. We have about 4 different places, like category of places where we buy things. We usually buy the normal grocery things, like everyday thing, like your rice, your spaghettis, eggs, butters, any of those stuff from a popular shop known as Ocean. The second category of shop that you would usually frequent as an African here in Poland is the African shops, but these ones are a bit pricey, and it's understandable because they are bringing things from different parts of the world into Poland and they have to pay tax on them. The third category of places where you can get things as an African is the Indian shops, and then the fourth place where you can also get things as an African is the Turkish shop. So I've broken down everything that you need to get into 8 categories, just so that it's easy for you. And if you see me looking down here, I actually made a list of the things I'm going to be telling you guys about, just so that I don't forget anything. We have food items, clothing, grooming, hair products, makeup, books, laptop and accessories, then medicine. So the first one, of course, the most important, very important, food items. So I broke down food items into 2 categories. We have African food stuff and then the normal English food stuff. The first thing that is on my list is egusi. You can buy up to 4 pints or 3 pints and then grind them. Try and dry it very well so that it doesn't grow mold or begin to clump together. The other thing you should get is red oil. When you're passing through the checkpoints, they probably will check your bag and they will check for red oil. So this one, I would advise that you freeze it. If you freeze it, they usually don't have a problem if you freeze it. But if you carry it the way it is, they will usually seize it. The other thing that you need to bring is crayfish. I don't know about you, but I really like crayfish in my food. It's the spice of life, man. The next thing you should bring is also bono. Bring dry fish. This is really, really good. This one is quite pricey in the African shops. Another thing to bring is Ijebu Gari, because you cannot do without Ijebu Gari. But if you're not into Gari or you're into semovita, you don't need to bother about buying semovita. We have something here that you can use in place of swallow. It's called kashamana. This thing is almost like the equivalent of semovita. So virtually every African I know here uses kashamana. Another thing that you should get is stockfish. Then you also can bring dried veggies, like ugu, uziza, bitter leaf, okazi, scent leaf, even curry leaves that are dried. Pack them in Ziploc bag, transparent Ziploc bag, and label them. You can also bring your local condiments like your locust beans. I think it's called iru in Yoruba. You can also bring ogiripe for Igbo people. You can bring ogiri Igbo. You can also bring ehuru. Another thing you need to bring, especially if you're an Igbo girl like me, I actually forgot this one, and it paid me sha. Bring abacha. Also, if you're someone who is into having snacks in the house, then you'd also want to consider bringing tiger nut. So for English foodstuffs, try and bring beans if you're into beans. Maggi, yes. Now for Maggi, the Maggi that is here in normal Polish shops they are either liquid Maggi and it doesn't taste like our usual Maggi. So I advise you to bring things like Knorr or normal Maggi cube bring those ones. Then another thing that you need to buy, which is not very common here, is Milo. Buy dried milk. Once I mention African shop, just know African shop equals expensive, so it's more expensive in the African shops. Then another thing that I will advise you to bring is Indomie. If you are an Indomie person, carry your Indomie and come. Indomie is here. It's also in Little India. It's in African shop, but they're very expensive. Spices, curry, thyme, all those kinds of things, they are not very heavy, number one. Number two, if you go to African shops to get them, they are very expensive there. Number three, you won't find them in polish shops. The ones that you find in polish shops don't taste like the one we usually use. It's Gino tomato paste. These come with them. They are different tomatoes. Like I said, these things are going to still finish. But before you enter into that experimentation stage, you would at least have things that you will be eating while you're experimenting and checking out the things that you can or cannot eat. Clothing. I would advise you to get thick clothing. Don't bother so much about carrying so many of your clothes, because you can get clothes here and they're not that pricey. We're entering autumn, which is going to usher in winter. So if you're going to come to Poland anytime from October, November.
So guys, I didn't realize that my mic had died at this point, which is why no sound was being recorded, and I didn't even know this. Anyways, what I was trying to say here was that winter is already approaching, and most of the thick clothing you're going to get here would be very expensive, which makes sense for you to buy them from where you're coming from, even if it means buying just one or two and then eventually getting some other thicker clothing during summer next year. But it would make more sense for you to buy thick clothing from where you're coming from, just so you can cope with the winter. This is an example of a big teeth comb, which is quite affordable back home. So it's advisable to get that before coming, because most of the brushes here don't really get through our thick 4C hair. Also for the hair bun, this hair bun is usually very helpful for quick hairstyles. It has a drawstring which you can use to quickly make a hair, and that's what you see I'm wearing in this video.
The next category of thing that I wanted to talk about that you should bring when coming over to Poland is makeup. Sis, this is a friendly advice from a sister to a fellow sister. Makeup is very expensive here. The most common makeups that you will find in drugstores or in shops like Rossmann, they are usually not in our color shade, too light for our skin. And please, sis, don't try Shane. I know Shane is very common. Shane, you can get all your jewelries, you can get clothes, you can get all of those things. But please and please, do not try Shane when it comes to getting makeup products. You will see them displayed in the products. The way they look, it's not usually the way they will look on your face. I've tried this before, so I'm telling you now, don't try Shane. Don't try ordering makeup online, except you already know your shade, you know the color, the number of the shade, and you're sure that this is the same product. Don't buy products online. The ones that have our types of colors are usually very, very big brands like MAC, Sephora, Fenty. Those types of brands, you know how expensive they can be. Get as many as possible. Get them from wherever you're coming, whether you're coming from Nigeria, whether you're coming from Ghana, from Kenya or South Africa or Rwanda or Zimbabwe. Get them from your country before you come. The next category of things that I'll talk to you about is buying books. Books, you can get them here. I usually buy my books from Amazon, but if you have like things like maybe a Bible or something, usually the books that are here are not usually in English. I found a bookstore actually that sells in English. I'll show you guys when I go book hunting. Things like your Bible, if you're a Christian, please bring them with you. There's no point buying things that you can easily get from like home. Laptops and accessories, please, it's important. As a student, bring your laptop with you. Virtually everything that you need to do, your presentations, your tests, your seminars, everything that you need to work on, you would need a laptop to do. Come with phone chargers or laptop chargers that have 2 pin. When you're coming with laptop chargers, please buy the ones that have 2 pin like this. This type of socket, this is the kind of outlets that we have here in Europe. This is the kinds of sockets that you see. You wouldn't see 3 pin. But if you already have chargers, laptop chargers, and you cannot really, start getting new ones, then I advise that you come with extensions that have 3 pin ports but has 2 pin head. Then the next set of things that I advise that you get, they are like medicine. But before this one, I would actually advise that you treat yourself before coming. This is really important. This is because obviously there's language barrier, but we also have like doctors who speak English. The only challenge now is that our kind of body issues, our kind of body problems like malaria are not things that is quite common here. So things like, having malaria or having things that, relate to those kinds of things that usually affect Africans, they're not quite common here. And sometimes when you go to the hospital, your expectations might be, dashed a little, because they might not know exactly what it is that you're worried about. We usually do have issues when we go to the hospital trying to describe our symptoms. So I would advise you, do a thorough checkup before you move abroad. This is a general advice, regardless of where you're moving to, whether you're moving to Europe, US, anywhere. Do a thorough checkup before you move there. Also, the second reason why I'm saying this is because before you get some drugs, you have to get doctor's prescription. If doctor does not prescribe it, you cannot get it over the counter. And this leads me to the medicines that I would say you should bring. Things like malaria drugs, typhoid medicine, if you are someone that is prone to typhoid, Flagyl for runny stomach, drugs for cold like Procode for small cold and all of those kind of sore throats. As opposed to packing medicine and coming here, I would highly advise, treat yourself first. Treat yourself, check yourself thoroughly, and be sure that you don't have anything that is like a reservoir or something that is in your body that will affect you. And let's go to the last session, which is like things that you shouldn't bother bringing. Things like rice, semovita, spaghetti, onions, there's no point, ginger and garlic, zobo. We have them in the Turkish store. Don't bring sugar, please. Please don't bring pressing iron. Don't bring groundnut oil. Don't bring salt. Toothpaste, this is optional, but this is also important. I personally was reacting to the toothpaste that I found here. All of the things that I mentioned here are just my own opinion. It's not a do or die based on personal experiences and the experiences of some of the people I have spoken with. However, feel free to still add whatever things that I may have mentioned or may not have mentioned in this list. A few things to remember. Remember that you have limits on kilogram that your luggage can weigh. For most airlines, the limit on the kilogram your bag can weigh is 23 kg. It's 223 kg bags, which is checked in. Then you have one carry-on, which is 8 kg, and then you have a laptop bag. So these 4 things are the things that you carry. So please bear in mind that all the things I mentioned now, they are the kinds of things that you're going to put in those bags. Extra luggage is very expensive. You pay per kg of each extra luggage. The second advice I will give you is try and go with a family member or someone you know when you're going to the airport. This is in the instance where you're traveling, and then if, for instance, you have excess luggage, someone can help take the excess luggage with them and go home, as opposed to throwing them away. The next thing to consider is to also dry everything that you're carrying. Dry them very well. If you don't dry them very well, the chances that they will spoil is really high. Another thing that you should remember is to also pack all the things that I mentioned here, or at least the food stuff, in Ziploc transparent bags, and then label them properly. That way, when you're being checked in and they are checking through your bags, if they check through your bags, they will not disturb you. This is what a Ziploc bag looks like. So you can see, this is Gary, by the way. So you can see, you can just easily just close it like this and then label it. So you can just label Gary on this, and that's that. Then last but not the least, guys, all the things I mentioned here, it's not like I'm saying you should pack the whole of your country and come over to Poland. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's going to eventually finish, definitely. It's important for you to be able to first of all acclimatize into your new environment and then slowly integrate yourself into it. That is the reason why you need to carry these things, bring these things that I'm talking about, bring them with you. That way it will not be difficult for you to settle into the new environment. If you're coming from Nigeria or you're coming from Africa, I would highly advise that you check airlines like Ethiopian Airlines. I think this is the current cheapest airlines that you can use. If you found this video useful, please like this video, comment in the comment section so that I know what kinds of videos you'd like to see in future. Also share my video to someone who you know is planning to move to Europe or to Poland anytime soon. They will find this video really helpful. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. It really does help me. As always, remember where you're coming from, remember where you are, and remember where you're going. Until next week, it's all shades of love.